One interesting question that I receive quite often here is, hey Dan, can I answer a question using a personal example, or does it always have to be from my professional experience? And more often than not, if you're quite skeptical on whether to use a personal example, it means that it more likely means that it's a bad idea. But let's keep it interesting for now. So let's first talk, when does it make sense to use a more personal story? So let's say, for example, you're a senior recruiter applying for a role, and you've been working at Facebook, Uber, Tesla, and so on. So in other words, your professional capability is not questionable here. And let's say you are asked, could you talk to me about a recent project that you're quite proud of? And an answer could be like this. Sure, the first example that comes to mind is a recent side project that I started. It's a networking event for women with the main goal to to encourage leadership in women. And I started this event 6 months ago, and basically what we do is to choose a topic for each of these bi-weekly meetings, and we'd have 2 or 3 speakers, and then we debate for several hours during these events. And it turned out to be quite successful. We already have around 40 members so far, and we managed to attract sponsorships. So it's a self-sustainable business event. So notice here that this event. I mean, let's talk first about the position title. So we're talking about a senior recruiter. A senior recruiter is supposed to be an extraordinary networker, right? That's a core competency of a senior recruiter. So by mentioning a side project, right, I didn't say that their company sponsored that event. They started that event, right? But by highlighting this event from their extracurricular activity, because that's not the job, they highlight a core competency required for the role. And notice here, if you haven't already, that I said that recruiter, the capabilities of that recruiter cannot be questioned, because he or she already worked for Facebook, Uber, and so on. So in this is one example where, yes, you could use a side project. And then notice also the question, maybe it's not it's not one of the hardest ones. So what's a recent successful project that you led? So notice here also the role. I said it was senior. I'm not sure if I mentioned, but it's a senior role, right? So in this case, yes, it does make sense to talk about a side project. Now, on this same topic, like let's take a counterexample of a time when it would be a bad idea to use a side project as an example here. So let's say you're applying for a software development engineer, and you're getting asked the question, tell me about the time when you failed to meet an important deadline. And you would go something like this. Well, I could certainly remember a time when I had a very important side project on which I've been working for several months, and we had some technical difficulties which resulted in a significant delay. I mean, the original deadline was scheduled to be 3 months, and they actually had to work for 2 more months to actually deliver on that side project with my friends. And my learnings from this project were that I should always take time to. We could have definitely done a better job to communicate here, to understand the proper requirements of that software project, and my friends and I should have definitely met a lot more often to decide on the outcome of the project and to properly plan this in advance. And had I had better prepared myself, also technically speaking, I could have probably also advanced a bit faster. So the delay of 2 months could also have been cut short into 1 month. But in the end, we delivered the project. Now, why is this not the ideal example? It's not an ideal example for the simple reason, one, you're applying for a software development engineer, and I'm assuming it's not a senior one, but even if it's a senior one, why would you go with why would you call that an important deadline for a side project? Okay, it's important for you, I understand, but within a work context, it doesn't really make all that much sense. So usually what people tend to do here is that when they get asked tough questions, such as tell me about time when you failed, they tend to get on the defensive, and they tend to minimize the importance of that failure, to say something, to talk about something that's not that important, right? Like a side project. So instead of talking about the real failure, which I'm sure any of us had at some point in their career, in their professional experience, you would go with the side projects to minimize the impact. And it's all these types of scenarios that are scenarios in which I would definitely not recommend to use a personal project, a side project. And I would even argue with you that even if you don't have any other example than a side project, you should really go above and beyond to think about something from your professional experience, because the behavioral questions are designed in such a way that anyone could more or less have answers for them. So there you go. In most cases, it doesn't make sense. It will not score points to your advantage if you use a story from your personal experience. However, if you're applying for senior roles and you want, to really highlight more on a core competency that's also linked with your extracurricular activities, then yes, sure, definitely this could work. So hopefully you found some of this information useful in doing your own interviews. And if you want to support this channel, please share the outcome of your interviews in the comment sections of the video. And as always, thank you very much for watching.